Hello everyone. Today I'm going to demonstrate how we can deploy our ASP.NET Core web application into AWS EC2 instances. As you can see right here, I already have my web app running inside the EC2 instance. And we're also going to do a CI/CD pipeline using Bitbucket Pipelines and also AWS services. First of all, I'm going to assume that you already have your .NET Core project ready that have some kind of unit tests. Here I already got my example project to show you guys how to do it. And then the next thing I need you to do is to push this project inside the Bitbucket repository, which I already did here. And then in the Bitbucket settings, we can go to the repository settings. Under the pipeline sections, we can click on the settings. And then we need to enable the pipeline. Okay, then this is all we need to do right now for the Bitbucket settings. And then we can go to the EC2. As you can see right here, I already logged in into my AWS console. Then we need to go to the AWS IAM. We need to create the user for the Bitbucket to push to AWS. Okay, first of all, we can go to the user groups, and then we can create groups. We can just give it some kind of name that will tell us about this group that will do the push to the AWS. I think I will go with Bitbucket push group. Okay, then the permission, we can just choose S3 because we are going to use S3 as well. And then the CodeDeploy, which also is another service that we are going to use. Okay, after we select the two options, we can just create a group. Okay, we already created the group. Then the next thing is we need to create the user for the Bitbucket. We can go to the users and then add users. Then we just put in the username. We can use like Bitbucket user. And then we don't need to tick this because we do not allow them to log in into this AWS console. And then we can just add the user to the group that we just created, which is this one, Bitbucket push group. Okay, then we just create the user. If it succeeds, then it will just say user created successfully. And then the next thing we need to do first is we're going to get the access key. Access key is the way that we can access this user. We can log in as this user. First, we are going to this Bitbucket user. And then we go to the securities credential tab. And then under access keys, we can create access keys. This just choose other or which one that you see fit. This one is not needed, but it's only to tell us what is this access key for. For example, Bitbucket push access key. Okay, we can download the CSV file so we don't lose it later on because we cannot see this page again. Okay, after we download, we can just click done. Okay, next thing is we need to create the role also for this Bitbucket. Then we just click create role. We are doing it for the cross AWS service. And then we can just click the EC2. For the access, we need to, for the permission, sorry. For the permission, we just key in S3 and S3 and then CodeDeploy role. And then EC2 because we need access to for it. And then the last one is SSM, which is System Manager. Okay. And then the next thing is we just click next. The role name, put something meaningful. Bitbucket tools role. Then we can just check the result. SSM, EC2, CodeDeploy role, S3, okay. Let me just create a role. Okay. After we created the role, we need to go back to the role first, because we need to change something on the trust relationship. We click on this tab, trust relationship, then we click edit trust policy. Okay. For then on the add a principal, we click add. We need to find for the AWS services, and then we need to put in CodeDeploy dot your AWS region. For me, it's AP Southeast 1. Okay, click add principal. Then it should add into the service array here. Okay, then we click update policy. Okay, that's all for the IAM. Or then we can move on to the S3. We need to create a new S3 bucket for this. Okay, after we're going to S3, we can just click create bucket. You can name it whatever you want, but make sure that it's not something too difficult. I'll do with AWS S3 Bitbucket test. Then we can choose the region. For this ACL, we need to take the enabled one. Okay. And just leave everything else aside. Then just click create bucket. Okay, we successfully create our bucket. The next thing is we are going to create an EC2 instance, which will hold our source code there. Okay, after we're going to EC2 dashboard, we can click here, launch instance. Then we can put name for it. Maybe I'll go with Bitbucket AWS task. And then I'm going to use Windows Server for this case. Okay. For the instance type, I'm going to choose the T2 micro. And then the key pair, this is important. We can create a new pair, or if you already have a key pair, then you can select it. But I'm just going to create a new one. I'm going to name it Bitbucket AWS task, the same as the EC2 name. Then click PAM, then create key pair. Then we need to save the PAM. Don't lose it because we need it to get our EC2 password later. For security group, we create a new one and we allow HTTPS traffic from the internet and also HTTP traffic, and we can choose it anywhere. Okay, after all this, we can just click launch instance. Okay, we successfully launched our instance. The next thing is we need to connect to the instance. Okay, as you can see right here, it's still pending. We need to wait until it says running. Then what we need to do is to click connect to connect to this EC2 instance. We are using an RDP client, and then we can download the remote desktop file, which I already have. Okay. Then this is the important part. We need to get the password to this EC2 instance. Okay. Now you need to upload your private key, which is the earlier key pair PAM file that you already downloaded. Okay. I put it inside my desktop. Okay, right here. Then we can just click the decrypt password. Here we go. We can now connect to the EC2 instance. I'm going to connect to the Bitbucket. Click connect. And then the password is right here. Okay. Click remember me. Okay. Yes. Now we should connect to the EC2 instance. Okay, just wait until the Windows finish preparing. It will take a while because this one is a T2 micro type, which is a bit slow. Just click yes. Okay, we need to wait a bit. Okay, I think we can access this now. First of all, this EC2 does not install IIS yet, so we need to install it first. We can click on this Windows button, go to the server manager here. We need to wait for it to launch, and then you can click on this manage, click add roles and features. Okay, then we just click next. This one we can choose role-based or feature-based installation. This one we only click next, just choose whatever server they have. For this we need to install the IIS, web server IIS. Click include the management tools, and then the Windows deployment service also. Okay, then we click next. And then for the features, we need to take this one, and also the .NET Framework 4.8. Okay, I think that's all for this. Then just click next. Next. For this, we just leave it as default. Then we click next. Next. System are going to install the IIS here. Okay, then we just wait until it finishes. Okay, finally finished. Then click close. I think we already should have the IIS here. Let's search for it. IIS. Okay. Okay, we already have the IIS manager here. And we already have some default site, I think, yes. Now we can try to access this web page. by going to the AWS console again. We can go back to the instance, and then we just click the open address. I think this is due to the HTTPS because we currently don't have the SSL set up yet. We can access the IIS now. Okay, then we can assume that IIS is installed correctly. The next thing we're going to do is to get a .NET Core hosting bundle. We can just search Core hosting bundle. For me, it's .NET Core 6 project, so I'm going to install the .NET Core hosting bundle 6. You can just search, then we can download it. Then we can download it here, the hosting bundle. Don't click the other one, just click the hosting bundle. Okay, then it will download it just. Okay, after download, we need to copy this into our EC2. You can just click Ctrl+C to copy, and then we can go to our remote desktop, and then just paste in wherever you want. For me, I'm going to paste it inside the desktop. Okay. Okay. And then we need to install this hosting bundle inside our EC2. Just double click it. Wait for a bit. And we can install. Click agree, then click install. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is to install something called System Manager Agent in our EC2. First of all, we need to go to the System Manager service. You can go to AWS console and search for System Managers. And then go to the Fleet Manager. And then we can go to the Configure Default Host Management. We need to enable this default host management configuration. And if you don't have this service role ready, you can just create it. Usually it's automatically selected for you. And then if already done, we need to install something in our VM. I'm going to open up my notes for the script. This is it. I'm copy the script. We're going to the PowerShell. You can just search PowerShell. Okay, you just copy and enter. Then we just wait until the download is finished. And then after finish, we can continue with another script, which will install this System Manager agent inside our EC2. And then the last thing, not the last thing, sorry, but we are going to, oops, delete it. But if it cannot, then it's okay. Don't panic. Then we just restart the service. If you go to your desktop, you should have the installer here. Maybe we can double click. It's already installed. Okay. Yes. Now it's can. Okay. Maybe we need to wait a bit. Okay. If like this, then we already successfully installed it. And then the next thing is we need to install something called CodeDeploy agent as well. Now this time we are going to the also System Manager. Just open up this sidebar. Then we go to the distributor. Then we can choose AWS CodeDeploy agent and then click install one time. Okay, everything just default. This one, make sure it's they install. Okay. Then for this one, we can click choose instances manually. Then we just find our Bitbucket AWS task instance right here. Click it, and then just click run. This one is optional. Just click run. Okay, then we'll just wait for it to finish. Okay, while waiting, actually we can use a terminal to check whether the CodeDeploy agent is already installed or not. We can go to the PM and click and type this PowerShell.exe, then the dash command get service dash name CodeDeploy agent. Okay, if it shows something like this, that's mean that the EC2 is installed already. And then the last thing we need to do inside AWS is we're going to create a CodeDeploy application. Just search for CodeDeploy and then click on the application, create application. Then we just key in our application name. For this, I will just use AWS Task Bitbucket. Compute platform, choose EC2 because we are using EC2. And then we'll just create the application. And then under the deployment groups, we can create a new one. We can enter a deployment group name, just put whatever. Make sure it's something that you can remember. And then the service role, we just give the role that we created earlier, Bitbucket push role. And then the deployment type, choose in place. And then configuration, choose Amazon EC2 instances. For this, we need to key in our EC2 name. Click name here, and then we just choose our Bitbucket AWS Task EC2 instance. The result should have this one unique match instance. Okay. On the deployment settings, choose CodeDeploy default one at a time. Okay, I don't think we need load balancer here, so I'll just disable it. Then we can create the deployment group. Okay, that's all. And then the next thing we're going to do now is actually on the source code. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is that on your root folder of your project, you need to create 4 files. First file is the Bitbucket Pipelines YAML file, which is a config file for your Bitbucket pipelines to determine what steps do you need inside your CI/CD pipeline. The next thing is abstract YAML file. This is used by AWS CodeDeploy to determine where to put your source code later on the EC2 and what to do before and after install. That's why you see this before IIS install stop and start. For the before IIS install stop, the content is just to stop the IIS server. And for the after IIS install start file, this is just to start the IIS server again after we upload our source code into the EC2. First, let's take a look inside the Bitbucket Pipeline YAML file. As you can see right here, we have several steps here, actually only 2. First step is just to build and test the project application that we have, so we can make sure that the app is running well and tested correctly. The next step is to publish and deploy. We first publish our app here, and we copy our aspect file and the bat command file into our project before we zip our publish folder. And then we upload into the S3. For the zip file name, you can just name whatever you want, and also the version level also whatever you want. But make sure it is the same as the for these two steps. Okay. Then after we upload to S3, we are going to deploy to EC2 using the same zip file on the S3 bucket. Okay. Then we can go to the Bitbucket website, and then we need to fill in some repository variables. There is access key, access AWS secret access key, AWS default region, S3 bucket, application name, deployment group. Okay. All of this is used by the Bitbucket pipeline YAML file. Then if you ask where to get this AWS access keys and secret access key, actually you can get it from the CSV file that you downloaded earlier. Here. I'll demonstrate how to use it. After we open the file, we just copy on the front part. This one is access key ID. Then we just update the file. Yes. And then the secret is the text after the comma. Okay. Okay. The region, make sure it's correct. Mine is AP Southeast 1. For the S3 bucket, we are using AWS S3 Bucket task. And the application name, we can see it on the AWS CodeDeploy, which is Bitbucket AWS task. Okay. And the deployment group is DG1. Okay. Make sure you fill in all this correctly. And then I think you're set. We can try this out. For example, I'm going to change the layout or the name instead to make it easier. We can go to Views, Shared, Layout. Instead of web app with CI/CD, I'm going to change it something like YouTube web app CI/CD test. Okay. Oh, before this, we need to create the site inside the IIS. We can go to our IIS manager. We can right click on the site, add website, and then we just fill in our project name, Bitbucket AWS task. For application pool, just leave it as it is. And then for the folder, we can just point it to our project folder. Currently, we don't have one. I'm going to create one for website. And inside the website, I'm going to name it as Bitbucket AWS task. Okay. Then we just click OK. Click OK. The previous error message is telling us that default website is using the port 80, which we don't want. Then we can just stop, and then we can start our Bitbucket AWS task port 80. Okay. I think we should have our website Bitbucket AWS with empty files, with empty folder. Okay, the next thing that you need to take care of is actually on the abstract YAML file. We need to point it to the correct folder first. Okay. Okay, see websites Bitbucket AWS has. Make sure it's the same name. Okay. Then we can just push this project. I'm using the git add I'm using the git terminal to put it. Git. We need to see first git log. No, I mean git status. We change the layout and also the abstract. Okay. We don't need to change the Bitbucket pipelines because the variables actually taken from the Bitbucket repository variables. Okay, then we can just keep git everything. Git commit, try new AWS YouTube test. Okay, git push. This should trigger the Bitbucket pipeline to run and deploy our app to the EC2. Okay, it pushed successfully. Then we can go back to the Bitbucket, go to our repository. Then we can go to the pipelines. It should have our newest commit here. It's on progress. Then we can click to see the steps being performed. Okay, the deployment is succeed. Then we can go into our EC2 instance and then look for AWS Bitbucket tab, and then we can open address. Hopefully we can see our web page here. Okay, if you see something like this, don't be scared. It's just the matter of we don't have the SSL set up yet, so the website is not reachable. So we just need to change this to HTTP and then press enter. Okay, as you can see, we successfully deploy our app into AWS EC2 instance. And as you can see right here, we already successfully deployed our app into AWS. There's two things to note when you're deploying the app into AWS. There's two steps that I missed. First step is to modify our EC2 instance IAM role. So we need to give the role to the EC2 because the EC2 need to access S3 as well. So what you can do is you go to the EC2 dashboard and then click on this instance, click on your instance, and then click on this drop down actions, go to security, click on modify IAM role. Then you can just give it your role that you created earlier. Okay. The next thing that you need to be aware of before you deploy your app is you need to make sure that your CodeDeploy host agent service is actually running. So if you're not see this running status, you need to start the service. If not, the CodeDeploy will not be able to communicate with this EC2 instance. Yeah, so I think that's all for this tutorial. I hope you found it useful. And if you have any other question, please let me know. You can just comment below. Thank you.